have you ever had a time where you were sitting across from a doctor and they said or did something that just made you think that they did not know what they were talking about? Call and tell us about that. 601-995-1017. Also, get ready for Cash in a Flash coming up at 8:20. Can't wait for that. But I ask about the feeling like the doctor's an idiot thing because of a story in the New York Post today. This Australian woman went to the doctor, started telling him what her symptoms were and everything. And then she noticed that he started consulting ChatGPT for her diagnosis and what was going wrong with her and what she needed to be treated with, stuff like that, asking AI for help diagnosing a patient.
I can't believe he didn't at least, be like, I'm going to be right back.
Yeah, leave the room,
right,
bro.
Like, didn't go use one of the office computers real quick and then come back.
But then the fact that he didn't think to do that also makes me question his intelligence. So for plenty of reasons, I think she said, quote, never felt like I was sat in front of a stupid doctor until now. She was feeling like her doctor was stupid. Have you ever had a moment where you felt like, the doctor just wasn't that smart despite the DR in front of their name?
I mean, it definitely had a lot of questions. So whenever I was in high school, I got diagnosed with ADHD by, what is it? It's not a psychologist, a psychiatrist. That's who has to do that. And so because there were at that time like a lot of crackdowns happening on ADHD medication, totally understandable. I had been getting my refills, but the doctor was like, hey, both your parents have to come in for this next visit so we can have like a sit down. I was like, cool, no problem. So we all go. We're having like this little meeting with the doctor. He spends the entire 30 minutes ranting about his son and how mad he is at his son. And like, do you guys ever deal with anything like that? And it's like, is this a therapy session for you, or am I trying to get my medication right now? I got my script, so it was okay, but I never met with him again.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, this guy's nuts.
601-995-1017. My last time being at a doctor was almost a year ago. I got some kind of illness. I thought it was strep throat.
Yeah.
That was how my throat felt. I got strep all the time as a kid. I was sure it was strep throat. So I asked to be tested for that. They did. It came back negative. And then they said, well, would you like to be tested for COVID or the flu? And I said, well, can you do anything for me if I have either of those things? Because the only reason I wanted to be tested for strep throat was because I knew I needed an antibiotic to cure that. The other two, are there any cures? And the doctor looked at me and was like, I don't know until we test you.
Well, what?
Exactly.
Wouldn't you know beforehand?
Then she did prescribe an antibiotic just in case it was a false negative or whatever on the strep throat that gave me a rash. So when was the doctor an idiot? 601-995-1017. Anything on the text line?
Yes, Ashton says she recently broke her foot, the first doctor didn't want to do surgery even though the bone was completely separated and snapped in half. Second doctor I went to said, of course we're doing surgery. Why on earth the first doctor didn't want to do surgery? She won't know.
Oh, wow. That's wild. Hey, Brentlyn, what is your story? And we're asking because a woman caught her doctor asking ChatGPT about a diagnosis.
Yes.
She's like, this guy's a moron. What do you got, Brentlyn?
So I thought I had like a yeast infection and stuff, and I went to the doctor, a female doctor, and she said that I had an ovary cyst, and you have to get an ultrasound for that. And so I went to a different doctor. They were like, you don't have that. So they gave me a whole bunch of medicine at the other doctor that gave me a yeast infection.
Oh no.
And on top of that, a UTI also.
Goodness gracious. I'm so sorry.
They put on my medical records that I had a baby when I haven't.
Yeah, you would think that they'd know that.
You would think. Brentlyn, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
You're welcome.
Jesse, when did you think the doctor was an idiot?
Well, I used to work out with one. So I'm working out with him one day, and then he told me that he just used to cram for everything in medical school, that he really didn't learn it. He would just have to cram the night before, sometimes 18 hours before, and that's how we passed the test. And he was my family doctor, and I got to thinking, I was like, this is why this dude is always misdiagnosing people.
No!
That's hilarious, Jesse. Thanks for the story.
Thank you.
Brandon, when did you think the doctor was an idiot?
It was when my wife was 37 weeks pregnant, and she was having some issues, so we went to the doctor, and our typical doctor wasn't there, so there was another older man there, and he didn't even look at her. He just came in and said, "I think you need some Tylenol." And little did he know, she gave birth the next day.
Oh my gosh! And he was about to send her home with some Tylenol.
Yeah, he was an idiot.
Thanks for telling us that story. Hey, Jerry, what you got for us?
When I was 16, I had a bad car wreck.
Uh-huh.
My left femur pushed through my hip socket and hit my spine.
Oh, my God.
Ow, ow, ow.
Shattered one of my vertebrae into pieces and then fractured a couple others. But if you took AMP, which I had at the time, you know that the x-ray didn't look good, but the doctor was like 86 and his glasses were like 4 inches thick. I think he had Coke bottle bottoms on his face. But he took one look at the x-rays and he was like, I think he's going to be fine. Take him home, give him some Tylenol. After a couple days, have him try to walk it off.
No.
You got doctor rub some dirt on it.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Yeah, my mama snatched the x-rays off the board and she was like, call the ambulance back. We're going to Jackson.
Jerry, thank you for the call.